Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping. Tomi, Oliva, and I are your hosts for today, and we've got a special guest joining us. I'm really excited to have this gentleman on the show. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. A lot of the listeners of the show, if you know Joey, you've probably asked for me to have him on the show. So we were finally able to make this happen. This is Joey Fitzpatrick from Tucson, Arizona. If you're not familiar with Joey, he does a lot of board level work, module repair, cloning, programming, along with owning a repair shop and doing just about everything else in the automotive world as far as repair, including diesel. He's an expert in the diesel world as well. So we're going to talk to him about all of that stuff, how he got into the board work side of things and how he's accumulated the skills that he has, his path to shop ownership, and a whole bunch more. This was really cool to sit down with Joey. He's an incredibly intelligent guy. I think you're going to enjoy this. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the episode. There it goes. Sweet. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Amazing.
I am doing very well.
Same. It's a beautiful Sunday. It's 50 degrees here. Feels like summer. I'm about to go smoke a cigar after this.
Yeah, it's been warm up here this weekend too. It's supposed to cool down. We've been doing snowboarding lessons lately. I never did that when I was younger, but trying to figure it out when you're almost 40 kind of sucks. But it's been fun.
Yeah, I think I've only been skiing, snowboarding once in my life. It just doesn't get that cold here.
Yeah,
You
no
guys can
shit.
go up to the mountains, can't you? Like, isn't like Flagstaff and stuff? Don't they get snow there?
Yeah, I think they got snow right now. But it's a haul.
Sure.
There's a mountain that's pretty close to us here, just north of the city. That gets snow once or twice a year. But when it snows, everybody goes up there, so it's a madhouse.
I bet. Yeah. My mom grew up in Phoenix, and I think she said she went skiing in like Flagstaff and stuff like that when she was younger. But yeah, where you're at, it's probably like 110 right now. Yeah.
It's 70. It's nice out today.
I'd be out there in shorts and probably a Speedo. I'd kill for 70 right now.
It's almost sweater weather.
This is the most southern thing you ever said.
Like we're just not built for the cold.
It's funny how you adapt, because once it's 20 below, then 40 degrees feels like shorts weather. But
you know what though? I will say this: I hate those in between days, man. Like when like it's bitter cold, and then it starts warming up. Those days where it warms up, dude, I don't know why, but they always feel so cold to me, man. I don't know if it's like a Chicago thing because of the humidity. But man, dude, I can't stand it.
Yeah, it gets to be about this time of year, and I just want it to be spring. Like, we've had the winter, we haven't had much snow here at all. Like, right now, I can see all the grass in my yard. But yeah, come February, I'm like, all right, time to warm up. Let's get outside.
Yep. Yeah, the gloominess of Chicago really starts messing with my emotions. We went like a month and a half one time with no sun.
Oof. Yeah, you guys get all the lake weather there too.
Yep. And Joey, man, aren't you like from around here or something?
No, I have some family that lives in Chicago, and I've been out there in the winter, and it's brutal.
Yeah, dude, it's that wind, man. That wind hits.
So, Joey, you got a shop out there in Tucson? Is that where you're at?
Yeah, I'm in Tucson, Arizona. Opened my own place. Me and a partner about a year and a half ago, and small shop. There's only 4 bays, but it's perfect for what we're doing.
Which is what exactly? Because I know you were doing a lot of diesel stuff in the shop you were at before, right?
It's general auto diesel repair.
What do you do? Like just like medium duty and lower, or semis, or whatever?
Yeah, medium duty is a stretch. It's I'd prefer to keep it light diesel, but every once in a while we get some smaller medium stuff.
Nice.
It's a lot heavier, and don't quite have the space for the big stuff.
Yeah, you don't like working in the parking lot when it's 120?
I prefer that over working in the cold. I'd work out in the sun all day.
You ain't lying, man. I had to diagnose a no start. At one of my good shops, he was about an hour away from me with traffic. I got there, and it was like an intermittent no start. And of course, it intermittently didn't start while it was in the parking lot. And the shop, it had snowed, so the shop was at an incline, and they hadn't plowed yet. So it was either we tried pushing it into the bay, and we couldn't. There was just not enough manpower, and it was too slippery. One of the guys fell. So I ended up having to diagnose a class 2 issue. It was like -20. Oh, dude, that shit was not fun, man.
None of your equipment works right. All of your leads are they don't bend anymore.
Bro, I did the most run and gun diag I ever did. It was my power probe and a lot of praying, and then running back into the car, and then running back out, do one test, run back to my car, stay on the laptop for like 20 minutes, run back to the car. Oh man, my face, my boogers were frozen, dude. It was not fun.
I'll do that where I'll scan and I'll hook up the VCI to a car, and then I'll sit in my van and just connect with the Bluetooth, and then I'll go and I'll grab the VCI out of it, and I got the long cable, and usually it's flexible, but it's like perfectly formed in like an S shape, and it doesn't bend anymore.
Yeah, working in the elements is no matter where you're at, dude, it's just not fun.
I can imagine. Last year, I'd left my laptop in the car overnight and grabbed it and went to turn it on, and it had a message that it was too cold to boot, and it took 30 minutes for it to warm up. I'd never seen that before.
Too cold?
Yeah, the hard drive was too cold.
Even your laptops are a bunch of punks, man. Mine stays in my van when it's -30, and it still turns on. They're accustomed to the heat too, huh?
My Tech 2 doesn't work when it's cold. I know that.
My thing doesn't work, period. Man, I have to give it a running start. That old dinosaur.
Yep. Now we got a few of them because we still have a lot of that old junk up here. Surprisingly, even with all the rust.
I get calls for those junks too, man. I don't even know why.
What's old for you guys?
Oh, we still get those old GMTs. I still have customers that have those GMT, like those old 99, 2000 Suburbans, Suburbans, Blazers. Yeah, like those. I don't even know when. They're not in horrible shape either, man. So I'm just like, ugh.
I had a 95 Riviera this week that was actually in pretty decent shape. The supercharger on it and everything. Right. But yeah, it's like, what are you still driving this for?
I hear the marbles from here. And when those superchargers start going back, they sound like a bag of marbles being smacked around.
Yeah. This one was the balancer. His rubber was fucked up. So.
Those were the.
Yeah.
It sounded like a Learjet trying to take off.
I remember those. The supercharger. They had that stinky fluid in them.
Yep.
That nobody ever changed until they grenaded.
Yeah. Yep. There was a little plug on the belt side that you could yank out of those things, and yeah, there was never any fluid in any of them.
You're supposed to change the oil in them, yeah.
Those little 3.8s were great engines, though. They just kept going.
Dude, they were awesome.
Yep. That was one of my first cars in high school. Was a Park Ave with a supercharger in it, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world that I had a supercharged engine.
I had a 3300 front wheel drive 2-door Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra. Man, it's funny because when I was in high school, the stupid Fast and the Furious stuff started kind of popping up, and everybody started running around the Honda Civics with the fart cans and the wings and stuff. So I remember my Asian buddies used to always want to race me because I was driving a grandma car, and I used to just romp on all of them. There was a strip. It was literally like a little less than a quarter mile, like from my house. I don't even know why. It was so bad. They ended up putting speed bumps there because of us. We were a menace, man. They put stop signs up, and then that didn't work.
Well, that supercharged 3.8. That was the one where people didn't realize, like, oh, okay, this thing can actually get up and go pretty good.
Especially like the Gen 3 3800 with
Uh-huh.
the supercharged that was like on the newer Regals and the GXP. Man, those things used to fly.
For what you could buy with that amount of money, that was definitely up there for a fun car.
When did you start wrenching, Joey? Like what were your memories of first taking in this illustrious industry of ours?
I suppose it started like most people, was into motorcycles, dirt bikes, go karts, stuff like that, and was just drawn to it. Had the opportunity to take a shop in high school back when they offered it, and just took off from there. Just fell in love with it. Knew what I wanted to do.
You're in that age generation. I'm not calling you old, so please don't say that or don't think that. But you're in that
No
generation. Were
worries.
you in the generation where like your high school advisors would send people to like to tech school or trade schools because they weren't going to go to college or they weren't going to amount to anything to go to college? Were you
Yeah,
in that
pretty
generation?
much. They the guidance counselors, it seemed that they would point certain VOTEC or tech school or not the college preparatory path.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I was still in that. I kind of just did what I wanted, but my school actually was the last year. I was the last class of shop. They went to college prep after I graduated. So it's interesting the way the tides turn, and then yet people are still wondering why we can't fill this industry or any of them actually.
Yeah, we were lucky. I was kind of out in the sticks, and so there was, for where I was at, still pretty heavy focus on the trades, and we had a real nice auto shop program in my high school. So I feel pretty lucky that I got to do that, because that's definitely what set me on the path to going
Oh,
into the industry,
absolutely.
was having a great instructor who was just a really good ambassador to the automotive, path as a career. Like, he really made it interesting and fun and accessible for the students. He's just like, yeah, bring all your cars in here. Let's fix them. Let's play around with the stuff and see if you like it. And yeah, Mr. Plumley, yeah, he was awesome.
I remember my teacher too, Mr. Racing. Man, that guy was a G man. He's the reason why I went into the field, man. Because at that point I was gonna go into engineering, and since I had already some automotive background from working at a shop, um, he picked up that I kind of was a little more advanced than everybody else. So he would just ask me to like, hey, do the oil change on these driver's ed cars, inspect them, and then he showed me how to rack a car. Like, 'cause I worked for my dad's garage. We worked on the floor, and when I started doing research because I actually wanted to go to the University of Illinois for engineering. They're one of the top engineering programs in the country. I don't know if they are now, but at the time they were. But man, I didn't see the point. I knew technicians at the dealers at that time that were making six figures, and only got a couple years under their belt plus training and stuff like that, obviously. And some of these college programs were like 180K, and you would come out making 70, 80, 90. I'm like, bro, my dad makes more than that slanging used tires. Why am I going to spend all this much money and I'm not going to be guaranteed a position in anything that I wanted to? So that's why ultimately I decided to, what, I'll do trade school, and if I don't like it, I can go back to college.
You went to UTI, right, Tommy?
Yes, I did. No regrets. I loved it. Did you have any
Yeah.
other trade school, Joey, aside from like high
Yeah, I went
school?
to uh, technical school afterwards. It was a technical college out in Atlanta.
Oh, you went to the ATL?
Yeah, I lived in Atlanta for 23 years.
You did say that. I
Um,
remember now.
but yeah, I went to tech school there, and it was right around the time that computers were like being put in all cars. They was kind of a turning point in the industry, I guess, where they went from the old standard ignition systems. Now everything's computerized, and kind of fell in and learned a lot. There was several good instructors there that kind of took me under their wing and showed me stuff, and I spent time and after class, and they'd show things that you wouldn't see during the class, and kind of just made me really like it, and want to perfect it and learn everything I could.
Where did you start working out of school?
So I worked in I got a job at it was a little independent shop, little auto care center, changing oil and doing brakes and tires and stuff. Advanced pretty quick through that, and I worked full time while I was going to school, and it was kind of rough, the all the hours you put in, but it was worth it. I got to apply what I was learning, make a check all at the same time.
So were you in the independent pretty much your entire career, or did you go into the dealerships at all?
I've always been independent. I've never worked for a dealership.
Okay.
Did work for a tire store once, but other than that, it was just in independent shops.
Was there a particular reason for it, or you just never cared?
I don't know. I guess I knew that there was lots of politics in a like dealer situation or dealer setting, and didn't need all that. Didn't want all that, and I was fine working in independent, which was nice because you get to see all the different makes and models and learn the different systems. You're not stuck with one line. Not that that's bad. It's just
the learning curve's a little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good thing as far as growing your skills and being versatile. Because yeah, you get a little bit of everything and kind of see how different manufacturers do it. Yeah, I tried the dealer thing for a short period of time. That wasn't for me. I definitely enjoyed the independent side of things.
Yeah, I was at the dealer for about a year when I lived in Florida, and I came back and I swore it off. I was like, no, I can't. I got a big mouth.
They told me it was like 2 or 3 years before I could actually be doing like legit repair work, and until then, you're just doing flushes and brakes and stuff like that. And
I got in as a lube guy, man, and they fired a tech like 2 months into me being there, and they all took a vote that they wanted me to be another tech, and I actually took a pay cut because I was making like $850 or something like that back in 2005, just slinging oil changes, and then they'd pay me commission for like the PDI, like the new car inspections. So I was making decent, and then they put me as a flat rate technician. And it went to shit quick because they bumped me up to $9. Imagine that my first flat rate job was a heater core on a brand new Pathfinder.
Oh, wow.
Bro, I spent 4 days on this turd, man. Dude, that sucked.
Yep, I think mine was like a flex plate on a Ford Explorer or something like that, and yeah, same thing. Just got my ass kicked on. I'm like, how's anybody make any money doing this?
Dude, it was like, bro, you guys are some assholes, man. You guys just basically just said here, sink or swim.
Trial by fire.
Yep. I mean, no regrets, man. Because the thing about it is like, especially being like growing up Hispanic, man, it's a little interesting because my parents had this inferiority complex that the white man's better, the white man's this, the white man's that. Like, they charge more because they're better, and they're, you want to get car fixed right, you go to the white guy's shop and all this other fucking ridiculous nonsense. So like, I go to the dealer and they're a bunch of fucking hacks, and I was just like, dude, I learned how to work on cars more professionally in my little raggedy ass shop than you guys. You guys are just a bunch of half-witted hacks. Like, F you guys, man. So that was the only like positive thing that I got from working at the dealership. That whole aura of that the dealer's better just flew right out the window.
Yeah, I get to see how the sausage is made, and okay, this is different than I thought.
Yep, Joey. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask when it transitioned for you, or when you start to get into the board work side of things that you do.
That kind of came gradually, almost out of necessity. As things started to die off and parts were obsolete, kind of looked at it. Now, it was always intriguing to me too, like what failed, why did it fail, and so I would get early on. I would get and open things up and try to find failure points, see if they could be fixed. And over time, it's progressed. Especially nowadays, the need for it is pretty big because of all the obsoleted parts, especially just few-year-old vehicles that you can't get parts for. The board work, just one of those things that I guess it just comes with it,
So everything you've done in terms of board work, you basically just trial by fire, man, on your own. Did you take any like technical training?
Well, I had some basic electronic stuff in tech school, but other than that, it was you just learn as you go. Never overnight. You just pick up a piece here, pick up a piece there till it starts to click.
What
Lots
was
of
the
research.
first? Yeah. Oh yeah. What was the actual first? Or what was the? Do you remember what exactly that brought you into it? Like, I know my defining moment for like board work, but what was yours? Like, that said, you know what, I got to get into this.
I don't know if I have a defining moment. It was started out like opening things up and finding solder joints that are cracked. There were a lot of like fan controllers, lighting control modules in the early 2000s that would do that. And it was always a good feeling when you could repair something as opposed to replace it. And you start looking, it's like you almost always expect it to be a solder issue, joint problem. Then you start running into boards that it's not a solder problem. It's a component failure that's not visible. You have to trace it down. It becomes like a hunt or a puzzle.
Chasing the rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a puzzle is a good way to put it. That's the way it feels. Like you struggle through a bunch of it, and then you finally get it. It's very satisfying. I remember my first one where I was really doing board level stuff. Like I probably had fixed a couple solder joints or something, but when I did a Toyota where I swapped the EEPROM for the first time, I was like, oh, I'm like a computer science engineer now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Old IC 900.
Yep, exactly. Because I had no knowledge. I think they had walked us through the very basics in tech school on like kind of what's on the board level, but it was real basic and nothing like this chip is this, or here's how you find an EEPROM, or here's the numbers. Like absolutely none of that. Getting into that over the last, I don't know, probably 6-7 years or so has been just wild to learn all of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely interesting. It's fun.
Yeah.
If you're not relying on it solely to make a living, it continues to be fun.
So
gives you some versatility too in repair, right? Like you got more options.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hey, you can't find this thing. Okay, can I fix it? Or, when used maybe it's not a option, you can figure something out with that. But yeah, the stuff you guys are doing is so cool. I've impressed consistently overall the people I know on the side of the industry and what everybody's doing. It gets me excited to do more of it too.
Why does everybody say that about me, man? I'm just a hack, dude. The only difference with me and other people, dude, is like I'll beat my head against the wall with something until I just can't, and then I'll call Joey, like everybody else does. But I usually, like, my rule is just to make sure I research first, stress my options as much as I can before I ask for help, because I feel like it's a respect thing. I think, like, I feel that, like, me, for example, like, I'll get a lot of like module questions. When I get a module question that isn't the obvious, right, where it's something that only time and experience will teach you, I have no problems answering those questions. But then I'll get like random questions. Can I use this module in this Global A car? I'm like, well, you don't need me. You can look that up. So then it's just kind of like, I'm not Identifix, man. Like, figure it out. So I try not to be that as well.
I think going down those rabbit holes, doing the research and hitting roadblocks, turn around and keep at it till you find the solution. You learn the most from those. You pick up stuff that you may not need this go around, but will definitely help you down the road with something else.
What do you do for documentation on stuff, Joey? Is it all up here, or do you have some sort of documentation?
Do I have
for everything?
Organized list or folder set up where everything's at? I wish that was the case. It's wherever I write it down or whatnot. It's usually a random notes that I keep here or there. Sometimes they're scribbled, sometimes they're written. And I always want to go back and organize everything, but it never happens. So.
No. I actually this might help you, but you know what I've been doing? Anytime I've had to like pin out a board or find a mask for an EEPROM or something, I'll take a bunch of pictures and then I'll make a own little library, and then I'll go back and I'll label everything on my phone. So I have little libraries for these odd jobs that I've done. For example, let's say I cloned a Nissan ECM that you can't rewrite the VIN. There's a mask, so I'll look up the mask and then I'll write down, okay, this number equals to 95,320 or whatever. So that's what I've done.
Yeah, I gotta write down all that stuff because I can't remember jack squat. So I have it all written down in like Google Docs and stuff. But yeah, my phone, it's like every other picture is like some circuit board or something like that. So if my girlfriend ever goes through my phone, she's gonna be really disappointed.
Same.
My phone's the same way. It's all full of circuit boards and pictures and wiring. That's probably how I will recall something. I'll remember a date or last time that I had done a particular job, and I'll scroll through the gallery and find when I did it and what I took, and it'll kind of stir up what I remember I had done.
You mentioned doing lots of research. Like, what are your resources for that? Are you just going out onto Google and finding it? Is YouTube helpful in that regard? Where do you go when you're trying to figure out something new?
I guess it depends on what you're chasing. But yeah, all the above. You're looking for chip information. Usually the manufacturer's data sheets are the best way to get it. If you're looking for something that's not off the shelf, if you will, like some of these chips are proprietary. Sometimes you can find some good info on YouTube. I take it with a grain of salt. There's a lot of bad info out there, but Google's really helpful. And most of all, it's like somebody else, someone in your network of friends that has done it. That's probably the most helpful thing, is having somebody else that's been there.
Yeah, 100%.
Agreed. But then when does one actually have to gatekeep a little bit? Because you're known to be the one that will help anything and anybody. But when do you feel like, man, maybe I shouldn't have helped them? You don't have to say a specific scenario, but have you ever felt like, dude, maybe I should just back off a little bit and let them suffer a little?
Sometimes, I suppose it all depends on what you're helping with and what's going to be done with the info that you've provided. There's lots of
is it to fix a car, go on YouTube, or
yeah. I mean, you want to do something that could be illegal. You want to help somebody commit a crime. But that's the thing with a lot of this work, is it's like skirts on the edge of being wrong. There's a lot of proprietary information, things you can do. I mean, mileage correction, stuff like that. You don't want the wrong hands doing it.
That's very true.
It's bad over here, man. Every single car. It's gotten so bad here that every used car inspection that I do, I run a Carfax on it as part of the package deal, because I can pretty much guarantee you a 2003 Honda Pilot is not going to have 125K. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
I'm sure every once in a while, but you can look at those cars and you can tell something's fishy with it. Yeah. See if it's wore out.
Yeah, that's a good mileage indicator. I never thought of that. The pad's completely gone and it's just shiny metal.
145K. Yeah, okay, like 200,000 miles ago, maybe. Joey, what in terms of new module technologies and the fact that these manufacturers really just don't want us in their modules anymore, how do you think we have a future in the module industry? You think the cat and mouse game is going to keep up, or?
I think the cat and mouse game will always be there. There may be some limitations to it and may get more expensive to do things, but a lot of these cars, that are 20 years old, they're going to be around for quite a while. I suppose it all depends on parts availability, right? Because if they make a computer or something that you could get in and fix, but you could buy it for cheap, why would you want to get into it? You just replace it.
Well, that's really my issue with GM modules, man, because it's like, why am I going to spend 4 hours trying to figure out which capacitor is shorted or which driver is bad when I can just buy a used one for $50
or a new one for 150?
Yeah. But there seems to be I don't know. I feel like we're in kind of like this interesting limbo. Module design, for example, like, have you seen the new Bosch? The new Bosch ECMs from, like, say for example, like a 21 Ford Ranger or a Bronco, that family. Like, they're riveted shut.
Oh yeah, they get the welded and riveted shut. Yeah.
Yep. So it's like, okay, like, if I put this thing in boot mode, what am I supposed to do? Like, supposed to like those old N20 DMEs. I know, like, there's always the back and forth, right? As it progresses, people unlock them, and then it gets back and forth. But not like, look at GM, look at the E90. I want to say, I think it's still locked. It's already a 3-year-old module.
Is that Global B stuff?
Global B is going to be a whole nother animal, man. I don't even know how that was going to work out, because Global B immobilizer systems, it updates the entire, from what I know so far, and I could be wrong, but the environmental identifier is a rolling identifier, and it changes every time you do an update. So the module takes a new identifier, it updates the rest of the vehicle, from what I understand. I haven't run into one, so I don't know how they're going to, probably just a 1-to-1 clone. But so far from what I've known, those modules still haven't been unlocked. There's only one company that unlocks them, which I won't mention. But
yeah, I've just done new stuff on those with the serial data authentication thing.
mm-hmm.
But that's been a challenge for us just with on regular stuff because it'll have one bad module and you can't program something else.
Over advanced proxy alignment. Have you run into any newer board level type of work? I know I ran into like a 18 Nissan Frontier, no, Rogue with that new generation Hitachi module, dude. It has a Renaissance with a watchdog, and nah, man, I couldn't get it to work. I couldn't clone it.
Yeah, I don't see too much new stuff. It's usually the 5-10 years old.
That's about my range as well.
Yeah, if it's still under warranty, we don't see it for 3 years or so. And the new stuff you can typically get new parts for.
That's changing too, man. I've run into customers are already complaining that, for example, like I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's like really bad issue with like the late model. Well, not late model, but 17, 18 Wranglers, Rams, the ABS modules. Looks like they're done making them.
Yeah, 16 Malibu, the inverter for the hybrid, they don't make them, and good luck programming a used one on those too. Those are an issue as well. So yeah, stuff like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I had a request and I turned it down. I don't like doing used airbag modules. There's too many variables. But yeah, there's a shop says that the airbag modules are obsolete for a 16 or 17 Malibu.
So yeah, there's a need for it.
I think a lot of that's due to the chip shortage during the COVID time. A lot of those manufacturers closed up or retooled and don't do the old chips anymore.
I never thought about that one. I know that retooling is different than just we don't want to manufacture this anymore.
Well, yeah, and as far as the repair side of stuff goes too, I mean, it's one thing to clone a module, but to actually fix something that's broken in it, I think that's another skill set in itself. But to have that ability, like I was messing around with an old Mercedes, and number one, the module's discontinued. They don't make them. They haven't made them new for a long time. But then all of the used ones out there have the same problem too. And so yeah, maybe you can find one, stick it in there, but it's probably gonna have the same issues. So then, if you can develop those skills to fix them, that's a big deal. What was the other one that I did recently? There's an old Lincoln LS with transmission issues, and they don't make the module. All the used ones seem to have the same problem. Like the shop put in a used module and did the same thing. Well, they thought it was the trans. They put in another trans. No, it was the used PCM just had the same issue, but it's a repair that you have to do to the module to fix that thing.
Was it a accelerator pedal position error or like a throttle position problem?
No, it was an issue with the pressure control solenoids for the transmission. Okay. And I'm trying to remember the details of it, but the pressure for the transmission, it basically like slam into gear and slam through it because the pressure goes to like a default max. And it's an issue with some solder connections in the PCM. But you're like, unless you're able to fix that module, you're not fixing that car because you can't find one that's good shape. I guess if you pulled it out of a running vehicle, but the shop found like one of two in the country or something like that, and it had the same problem as the one they took out of there. Yeah. So
I had something similar.
Hold that
2 weeks ago on it was a Thunderbird, the 03 Thunderbird. So it's the same basic LS platform. It's a 3.9, same transmission.
Yep.
And the computers, it had a bad computer. It was a throttle position issue. It didn't like the throttle body. It would derate, and you can't find the computer for it. New, they're discontinued, and used, they're like almost $2,000 if you could find one with the numbers that matched. And only viable solution that was cost effective was to find an LS computer that was used and basically clone it over all the data, make it think it was a Thunderbird, Frankenstein project, but wound up working in the end.
Nice. I remember you talked about that one.
Yeah, that was one of those that I attempted to repair, but it was actually a processor issue. And I spent a lot of time on it, way more than I probably should have, but just to see if I could come up with a solution that worked that would last. And can't get the chip anymore, can't get the module, so the only solution was the Frankenstein method.
Yeah, there is some time dumped into these projects. That is for sure. I've got a lot of unpaid time into trying to figure some of this stuff out. Or at least it's not paid up front. I'm hoping eventually I make it back. But
yeah, that's the hope, that one day it all pays off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I doubt it. I really, really doubt it. Because I mean, like, and when I don't want to say that, right? Because just remember when we were all like at the beginning of COVID, GPEX were like unavailable. You can't program them new. You can't program them used. So cloning them was a pain in the ass, but that became fruitful because once you figured it out, then I sold a bunch of them. So some projects do end up having financial benefit, but some of these just don't. Like me, Joy, and Cody, we all fought a Malibu at the same time, and I spent hours. Cody spent hours. Joy probably spent like 20 minutes, but
a lot more than that.
But yeah, I got my ass kicked on that car. I think Cody did too.
What was the module on that one?
It was 2010 Malibu. My complaint was, I don't know what Cody's complaint was, but my complaint was that a shop put a used cluster in it, and it just it froze at it was like at 180K, and this car was clean with only like 90,000 miles. So the lady was trying to get they told her, good luck, you can't do anything about it. I called GM to see if I can get one, and they're like, there's 3 different options. You have to figure out which one is which. We don't know which one it is. I'm like, how do you guys know which one it is? It's like, oh yeah, look at the part number. I'm like, I don't have it. He's like, well, you have to buy all 3 of them basically until you get one that fits. Is what they told me, at like $700 each. I'm like, that's more than this car's worth. So I told the lady, I'm like, I gave her a price. I'm like, listen, I'll figure it out. But if this would have been like, if I would have had the original one, this would have been a non-issue. So we went back and forth with it. Joy was able to correct it so it received the original mileage in the BCM, but it still wouldn't count. So I'll let Joy take over at this point.
Oh yeah, that was a strange one. It was a Malibu that we didn't have the original for. BCM holds the mileage. It should technically, read off that, but once the mileage is higher in the new cluster, we assumed it was just frozen. So we backed it up to make a match. It still won't count. I think the trip meter would work, but the odometer would never increment. And so we fought it for several months while this lady put up with it. She kept driving, and we had Cody wound up with the similar situation with the used cluster, and really was no like solutions online or that anybody had known about. So dug into it a bit and made a few attempts. Tomi let me send him some files, and nothing seemed to work. We could get it to match, but we could never get it to count. And he finally got me a working set that we could compare. And what it wound up being was a checksum issue in the cluster itself for the correct VIN. It has to the checksum had to be correct and match the data in the BCM. And for whatever reason, that was what was preventing it from incrementing. But once that was corrected, everything worked normally.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, I got lucky too, man. I called everywhere, and I sent my guy to the local yard, and we would just find one of each, like either the cluster or the BCM, but we couldn't find either, like or both from the same vehicle. So one of my biggest yards, he's like, yeah, I got one of these. I'm like, dude, it's the same car. He's like, yeah. He's like, all right, they're pretty cool. They let us send, like if they're super busy, I know the owner, so he'll let me send my guy to pull the parts. So yeah, he got him off the same car, and then I just read him and send him to the master over here.
So if you could clone the cluster from the original, it's not an issue, but just having a used one,
you'd be fine.
Okay. Is that the style of BCM that's in the center console with the fuses and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I've definitely got my butt kicked on weird issues with like the older ones, like in the HHRs and the Hummers and stuff. I haven't had a whole lot of problems, but with the newer Malibus, I haven't had the issue you guys are talking about, but I've had some other really strange issues trying to get used BCMs to work in those.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that if you plug in a used module, both modules will like update to the highest mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to warn shops, but they've always plugged them in before they call us.
Yeah,
so.
you get it after
you
the
gotta
fact.
correct,
Yeah.
and you got to correct the cluster. Like there's a program that'll, especially on those Hummers and Colorados, basically you can just correct the cluster. There's a couple of lines you change, and then it'll put it in like an accept mode as long as the
Kind of like
the
new
BCM was the
BCM.
original. Yep.
Yeah.
It'll just absorb it and it'll start counting. But this cluster is interesting, and I think what I suspect is that this cluster and this BCM, they're built for the vehicle. There's no updated flash files. So I think that's the difference between this design and the other ones. Because for example, those clusters on those Hummers, they have flash files, the BCMs have flash files, but these don't. Like you buy this BCM for this car, it's for this car. That's it. It won't work on anything else.
There was no updates, no SPS routine for it, no setup. It was all done at the EPC, GM's EPC when you ordered it.
Interesting. Oh, so there wasn't even a Tech 2 setup or anything like that?
Nothing.
Wow. Okay.
There's not even a seed key, right? Nothing. Like literally, it's just plug it in and it works.
That's crazy. Yeah. That sort of stuff, like to be able to get in there and figure all that stuff out, that is so cool.
That's beyond my pay grade, homie.
Joey, doing this board level stuff, and I realize there is a ton of tools and investment that goes into doing it, and it just never ends. But do you have any favorite tools, like something you're just like, this is what I'd recommend everybody get, or something that you've found is just fantastic around doing this type of work?
But it have to be a good temperature controlled soldering iron. That would be
if I knew that's what he was gonna say.
You can't do anything without it. That in a good hot air station. Some of the cheap ones don't work so well, especially if it's one you just plug in. But you want something you control the temperature of the iron. There's quite a few to choose from. I'm partial to my Weller, but Hacko makes a good one. There's a bunch out there.
Yeah, there's quite a few when you get on Amazon or whatever. Obviously, some.
I bought a JVC knockoff, man, and it's been my favorite soldering iron. I have a brand new Haku sitting right next to it. I rarely use it. This thing is great. Like it does have a little bit of a temperature control issue, but it's kind of like I already learned how to play with it.
I got a JVC. I like it. It's an older model, but it works really well.
Yeah, JVC makes some good stuff, man. What about clone tools? I know you like the old fashioned beat my head against the board type of cloning. But is there any clone tools that you enjoy using?
I suppose it depends on what you're cloning. Right. IO terminal's great. That's a perfect tool for GM stuff. When you get into the older, flash memory, the old 44 leg stuff in the Mercedes and GM, and just about everybody used it in the early 2000s. The old Mini Pro works great. I think it was originally called ID Pro. Now it's a
TM
GC,
something, I think.
Yeah.
TL 66 or 86 or something like that.
Yeah, I think they have it. They call them like a T48 now.
Right now.
It's a little like gray box, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
TL 866 or XGECU T48.
What kind of stuff do you guys like to use when you cloning modules?
I mean, Flex obviously costs a little bit more, but that thing's just been fantastic for
Makes it easy.
What it does. Yeah. Yes, it does. It holds my hand a lot. So, and it works. Like it just works. That's been good. ACDP has been impressive for the cost. That one holds your hand quite a bit too. And there's you can buy the clamps that you're not even soldering stuff. So I always feel like I'm cheating.
Look at Joey. Look at Joey's judging us right now. He's like, you losers. I had to figure out these checksums on my own.
Yeah, right. Well, I have a board.
I still haven't purchased Flex yet. It's on the list, but as of yet, I haven't needed it.
That's where the line goes in, right? Like I feel a tool like that has a very large ROI that needs to be done within a certain time frame for it to be feasible, right? Like how much time are you saving versus what the tool is going to provide you, and I think depending on what like that's one of the things that I've noticed about clone tools, right? Like the cheaper the clone tool is, the more work you have to put in. For example, if you're using Hexprog on Surprisingly, Hex is really great on BMW modules. Very, very good. It's actually like my go-to for BMW stuff. But if you're talking about specifically, generally speaking, I also think that um there's more work involved. For example, like a lot of the Hyundai, the Continental modules, the Sim 2Ks, there's a lot more work involved with using Hex than Flex, for example. At least that's what
Sure.
I've noticed. There's sometimes some of them even require installing devices or removing them. But for the price point, it's a great entry level tool. I like ACDP except for the herpes it leaves on your phone. So I figured out how to put it on your PC. That's how I refuse to use it on my phone.
Well, yeah, somebody calls you in the middle of cloning some module.
Well,
Yeah.
aside from that, it's just like their file placement, their management systems. Um, IO Terminal is actually one of my favorite tools as well. And I
Yeah.
like using it on older Euro stuff. A lot of people don't know how good it is on those older Euro stuff.
Like the Volvos and stuff?
Volvo, Denso, Bosch, first generation
Okay.
Bosch. Um, like it even clones weird Volvo, like an HVAC module, or even the what's that XC90 module that holds IMO, the rear view mirror. Like
Oh,
it'll
sure.
clone, yeah. So it's such a wonderful tool. Too bad
Yeah.
they hacked it, and I don't think that guy's coming back.
Yeah, like AR32, great tool, but like you say, you definitely have to put a little bit more effort into figuring out how it works and stuff like that, but you can do so much with it.
What's funny with AR is I bought AR in 2018 and I opened it and I set it up and I'm just looking at this and I'm like, where do I start playing Oregon Trail? Like, and I'm like,
where do I put the floppy
yeah,
disk into?
like, is she gonna die of cholera again? I'm turning this off. Like, I'm like, man. And then once we went to once Mike hosted the first Apromicon class, then I'm like, okay, maybe I should start learning how to use this.
Speaking of which, when are you teaching a class, Joey?
Oh Lord,
I wish I had time. That's the biggest thing for me.
I lost track of time today because I'm finishing up my Nissan class.
Yeah, I got 3 kids right now, and they 6 and 9. I got 2 twin 6-year-olds and a 9-year-old, and they suck up all my free time. Here eventually, I'll try to put something together.
He'll like message me at like 5 in the morning my time. I'm like, bro, don't you sleep, man? I'm waking up, got crust in my hey, here, try this. I'm like, bro, I'm barely waking up. He's like, oh, I'm about to go to sleep. I was like, wow, that's some dedication right there.
Sleep when you have time.
Sleep when you're dead. What's new? What's next for you, Joey? Though, like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? With your business or your module stuff? Where do you find yourself at?
Honestly, I just take it day by day. I would love to say be retired millionaire by then, but that would just be a pipe dream. But currently, just make sure everything that my family's taken care of, and I got enough saved up for retirement, and I was going to ride as long as I can.
Nice.
What made you take the jump to owning a shop from just working in one?
I had always wanted to work or have my own place, and over the years, working for somebody, looking at the struggles they went through, and had like they never really got ahead. It was always just a same thing where it was the struggling to make it, or thin margins and just barely eking by every year. Kind of held me back from making the plunge. But here in the last couple of years, it was like, well, if I don't do it for myself, how can I prepare for when I do want to retire down the road? And what will I have to show for it if I'm still working for somebody? They'll have been retired, and I'll just kind of fade off. Having my own place was just the next logical step. That's like a whole new learning thing for me, trying to figure out the way businesses work, because there's a lot to it. It was still learning. Probably never stop.
I just want to work on cars, dude. I hate owning a shop. It sucks. Like this week, and it's just like the little stuff, right? Like the little mistakes that happen, little miscommunications that throw off your whole week. Like I told myself I've been working too much and I got to prep for my taxes, prep for my new class. So I told the guys like, hey man, I'm gonna start taking Mondays off for the notice, because dude, I'm tired. Like I'm working weekends, I'm working nights. Like dude, I'm burnt out. I need a day off where I can work during the day, and then I can just take the evening off and then get back into the shop. Well, they schedule work for my day off because they forgot. And then we're onboarding Techmetric. And once he set up one of my guys set up a meeting with Techmetric, our onboarding meeting, and like a training video or whatever for Wednesday that he's off. So I was just like, dude, oh, I forgot. I'm like, how do you forget your day off, man? Like, it's just like these little nuances are just like,
Yep.
Jesus Christ. So now I got to come in on work on Monday, rearrange all my stuff, and work late again. And who am I going to be mad at? My name's on the wall.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, when you're the boss, it ultimately is going to fall on you to make sure that it happens, and you know, with good reason. Nobody's going to care about it quite the same way you do. So that's definitely part of it. Yeah. But like you say, learning all those skill sets to run a business, not exactly my favorite thing either. But you have to figure it out, and yeah, maybe eventually I will just hire somebody. Hey, you run the business. I'm gonna fix the cars.
That's my goal.
Yeah, or I guess I could just go back to being in tech.
Nah,
like I like being able to do the jobs I want to do, and then not do the stuff I don't want to do. And, I had to pull a bumper off the other day. I'm like, this is stupid. This is a reason why I don't do repair work anymore.
For calibration or just?
Yeah, we had it was a intermittent parasitic draw, and so we brought it to our shop because I'm not doing that out at another shop anymore. And it was the front radar and this lacrosse. It was actually so that one was super goofy because the radar was always talking on the object bus, but there was a pin fitment issue at the camera on the windshield. So occasionally the network would open up and it would actually go to sleep or within an acceptable limit. And then when everything was right with the network, like that, because you could touch the connector and it would connect to the network, and then it would talk, and then it would keep a draw that would kill the battery. So it was like when it was broken, the battery would stay charged, but then when the network was connected, it would drain it down. But anyways, yeah, pull the bumper to replace the radars.
That's I call those kicks in the nuts, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, my nuts hurt after that one, but we got it fixed.
Nice. What are your best lessons if you learned this year and a half that you've owned the shop, Joey? What do you think has been pivotal for you in terms of being a good owner?
Figure out how long to spend on one thing or other. Working for somebody, it's easy to let them handle that, and you just do what you do. You sit in the back. But like one thing I wasn't prepared for or didn't expect was the amount of visitors and people that will interrupt your day during any day, right? Like vendors, customers, people will come in the back door. It never ends. And for me, it was like at first I just kind of like tried to deal with everybody, and eventually it gets to the point it's like I think there's no time to work. So I've had to make some sacrifices and not spend so much time on social media during the day. I had to, like, during the week, shut my phone off so that I could concentrate on what I'm doing. I didn't have any distractions. And then also tell people to, come back at some other time. And they don't always like it, but got to get things done.
Suck it.
Yep, time's valuable.
Oh, that's what led to me closing, man. Back in 2020. Cause dude, it was just like I was the diet guy. I was a fire putter outer. I was writing estimates. I was selling jobs. I was ordering parts. I was figuring out parts. When somebody couldn't diagnose something, I had to jump in. Problem cars, problem with customers, pissed off customers. Like, nah, man, it's not
overwhelming.
Not day, man. And then with social media and everybody like I don't want to say harping because that's a bad term, but dude. Aside from like the nonstop questions, right? I put that aside. One thing that I've had to stop scrolling on my phone because of right now all this political climate is it's pretty embarrassing no matter which way you stand. But it's like you scroll down your phone and it's nothing but negativity, and then you'll start looking at our industry, right? And you see how much some of these clowns get recognition that don't deserve it. And then you're looking at it, and I don't care who you are, man. If you feel strongly about something, as soon as you see something like that, it's just gonna piss you off. So I just say, you know what, man, I'm done. I have a certain time during the day where I look through my my work phone that has my work messages, and that's it, man. I can't no more. I have, like Joey, man. I have so many different things going on, and I have so many different goals. I have expansion goals. I have so many things that I want to handle. And yeah, man. No, it's just you gotta learn how to set your boundaries and put yourself first. Nobody's gonna advocate for you like you, man. That's been my biggest lesson this last year. It's just I have to advocate for me no matter what. When it comes to my employees, my business, everything. Like nobody's gonna stick up for me but me.
Yeah, you only got so many hours during the day, and those 10 minutes can add up quick, and that's why I ended up getting somebody to do the phones, and I guess I have the advantage of being mobile is people don't know where to find me, so but Mike screens all my calls, and that helps out immensely.
I think that's why I liked it, man, because I didn't have to put up with these nonstop. Why so much, and why are you so expensive? But the shop down the street goes, dude, those explanations and those lessons that you have to teach these customers to basically sell a job, dude, they're 20, 30 minutes long. You do 3 or 4 of them, bro. That's 2 hours in an 8-hour day. That's a quarter of your day, like. And like
sometimes people aren't even going to buy anything from you anyways.
Yeah, it's the worst part.
Not make anything on it.
No.
Yep.
You can't squeeze a lemon if there's no juice in it. Like there's these people are at least I don't know. Are you in a what would you consider your area, Joey? Are you in a like in terms of wealth? Like are you in like middle class, upper middle class, or lower end ghetto?
It would be the middle class, upper middle class to be what I'd describe it as. Been very fortunate. We have a lot of customers that trust us, and they like seek us out. We don't have to fight. Nice. You know, they just purchase it. You know, whatever we recommend.
Nice.
Did you have a pretty big following stay with you when you transitioned?
Yeah, we sure did.
Okay.
Partner and I, he had a following. He's lived here his whole life, and I brought quite a few to myself. That was some of the diesel people. And it's almost too much, you know. There's a lot of work, and it's not enough time in the week to get it done.
Do you have plans for like expanding the shop or adding another tech or training a new tech?
We've talked about it. Maybe one day. I'm trying to just get through and see how the next couple of years go. And as I get older and slow down some more, may readdress that. And like I said, it's not a big shop. It's 4 bays. Not a whole lot of room, and I've never liked working in a place where they just stack people in. You know what I mean? Like you're just crowded in. It's nice to have a little bit of area to work and not be so cramped.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But to be fair here, your next step in growth is to run the business, not work the business.
Yeah, but
so eventually,
that's the thing. I enjoy working it, and right now that's where I want to be. I want to be working in the back, doing my thing, and making sure that what's being put out is the best quality it can be.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah, that's the eternal struggle of the tech turned entrepreneur. Is hey, I love doing this stuff, but I have to run my business too.
Yeah, it does get tricky.
Extremely, man, because you have to learn all facets of it, man. Because you can't really rely on anybody. At the end of the day, it's your. Yeah, granted, you have a partner. Does your partner do any? Is your partner like a technician, or does he run the business?
He's a technician, but he's also got a business degree, so he's who I lean on when I need business advice.
Nice.
What advice would you give somebody that's a tech looking to open their own place? Like, what's one of the more important things they should consider before they move into that?
It definitely isn't something that makes it easier jumping into owning the business. What's that saying? That I work 80 hours, so I don't have to work 40.
Yep. Especially in the early going.
Yeah, and it is stressful. I think for me the most stressful part was actually making the plunge. Once the doors opened, all that stress kind of melted away, and then it's just like keeping the doors open. You know, making sure that people are happy, your margins are correct, you're making money, everybody's paid. And
yeah, that initial period that you're just on your own, especially if you've always been W-2 employee, it's very strange until it isn't. Like you get your time under your belt and you're just like, okay, well this is how it is. This is normal. It feels less scary as the time goes on.
Yeah, it's not so intimidating. It's it just once it's set up, it just works. Got to keep it going.
Yep.
One of the interesting things that I've seen about you, Sean, is that you went from hiring an employee to just hiring a manager. What made you do that instead of the traditional, let me hire another helper?
I think it was exactly what we were talking about is the time I was spending on the phone dealing with customers and everybody else. I remember the moment I was like, I have to do something about this. Is I got to a shop. I was supposed to be diagnosing a car, and I was sitting in this car. I think I had hooked up my scan tool, but I didn't do anything in that car for like 45 minutes. I was just on the phone, like dealing with parts and keys and customers, and there's just one call after another. I'm like, I haven't done anything for 45 minutes here. And like I allotted myself an hour at that shop for this diag. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. And like you say, it's multiple hours every day. So, then I seeked out somebody who could do that part of it for me. And yeah, it was a game changer. Maybe different if I wasn't the tech in the field, but I am. So like I gotta have somebody to handle that part of it for me, especially now that we have, 3 of us in vans. The demand on phone calls and stuff, ridiculous. So game changer.
You need to add a 4th so you can buy my van.
Yep.
I'll deliver that mofo too.
What kind of vans are you running?
Transit Connects.
Okay.
The old ones before they changed the body style. They're cheap and reliable, and they work for what we're doing.
Yep. And they're loud as
Perfect.
hell, and they got more space.
Yep. Rust is the only issue, but I have a guy that'll do the rocker panels on those for a reasonable price. So we buy them, even if they're rusted, send them over to him. He slaps some panels on there. We're good to go.
Sweet. That's awesome.
They're ugly as hell and slow
and loud.
Noisy. Yeah.
Especially when that motor mount goes, man. They sound like a 747.
Every single one of them I bought, it's just like, whoa, 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 whoa.
It sounds like a 747 going. They sound like 747s going nowhere.
Yeah.
Going nowhere faster.
And if you buy them, check the spare tire that it actually goes up and down, because it's on a really over-engineered contraption to get the spare tire down, and if it's rusted, it may not come down, and you don't want to find that out in February on the side of 35. So
that Joy, I don't think Joy's ever worked in the rust belt. Have you, Joy?
No, not in the rust belt. Every once in a while, I'll get something that's rusty. It came from there. One of the perks of living down south.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't miss having to grab the torch out for everything. That's for sure.
It sucks. I hate it. But what can you do? It's also why cars break. So you gotta take the good with the bad, I guess.
Well, cool, man. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I've been wanting to do this for quite a while.
Joey's been probably our number one request.
Mm-hmm.
That was
it's hard to believe.
That was Sean's request when we decided to do this little dynamic duo thing. He's like, "Get Joey on here." I'm like, "All right."
I think especially in some of the chat groups that we're in, that's been the number one request too.
Yeah, it's always everybody wants to talk to the Google. I just don't know how the hell you know everything, man. Like you can talk about like a 1960 something carburetor, and I can talk to you about a GDI issue. Like it's literally like everybody who you like. For example, like I know if I need to talk about ADAS, I'll call PJ. If I have a module question or like board work, I'll call Joy. If I have a diag question, I'll call Pedro. Like I have like my little set.
He doesn't call me for shit.
What the hell am I going to call you for? I hate talking to Canadians, man. You know that.
Yeah, it's nice having a network of peers to lean on.
Well, it's like, dude, like you literally, like you know everything. Like, there's not a question you can't answer.
Quite.
Yeah. I think I dealt with one like 20 years ago. Let me go find some information for you. And then next thing you know, I got 20 pages in my inbox. Like, hey, here, read this.
Some things you just don't forget. You know, you got your butt kicked by something. Stays with you forever.
Yeah, that's actually, you know, we skipped over because we're so excited to have you here. But my introduction to modules was, this is how late I am because of me being so super overweight. I kind of like dropped off the face of the earth. But previous to that, I attempted to repair a Nissan PCM, the ones with the IAC driver issues. Mm-hmm. Oh man, that went south bad. That went south. I ended up frying it because I at least now going back, I wish I still kept that module so I can see what my dumbass did wrong. But I think I must have bridged some legs together, and that thing smoked my throttle body. Like it was bad, man. I never fixed it. I never touched it, but the curiosity still still got the best of me in terms of like, because I'm kind of cheap, man. So like, we used to have this Ukrainian dude that used to fix PCMs back in the day, and he was really really smart, man. Like you would take him a module, a couple $100, he'll fix it, you come back, no issues. But then he retired and he sold the business to somebody else, and it didn't go too well. So that was my defining moment. And nuked
I think everybody has those stories that does this kind of stuff. If you've never burnt something up or caused a fire, you're not trying hard enough.
Yep. I had a module that I had something soldered to, I think it was a contact point on the board, but it was for the boot pin, and you had to ground it. And the wire that I had like kind of just like fell over, and it just happened to make contact with something that had power on it, and it was all over at that point.
Yeah. I had one
like,
that I was working on. I don't remember what exactly it was. I had everything hooked up, and I had the board out and had it laid down and powered it up, and everything went to popping and smoking. It occurred to me that I'd set it on a stainless toolbox top, and all the through-hole solder joints on the bottom were exposed to that, and it shorted the whole thing.
Oh no. Yep.
Well, I was this is a couple years ago. I was trying to figure out I was trying to bring back a board on like an instrument cluster. Usually you can just heat it up and see which of the soldering. Like I took advice from one of my buddies, and but problem was I didn't turn it off. The display was off. So I was trying to, like, I don't know what the hell I was doing. Like my goal was just to heat it up and then turn it back on, but I left it on, so I must have shorted something. But this thing just went. I was like, "Whoop, sorry, Mr. Customer, I can't fix it."
Problem is worse than we expected.
Yep. This board's fried for some reason. This stinks. Well, that's dope, man. It's fun. It's fun to hear people's war stories, man. Like I've always hated that about instructors, that you see these instructors and you always get the pretty versions of their case studies and stuff, and sometimes you're just like, nah, man, like this is what it is, man. I messed up, but this is what I learned from it. I think those are the best.
Yep. Like you said, you're gonna remember that. Pull a pad off of a board or something like that, and like, all right, I am not gonna do that again. Yep. I probably will, but at least I'll be trying not to.
Yeah, fixing pad. I one of my first swaps, I broke a leg off the flash chip, and I needed the information off of it. I ended up having to drive to Pedro, and he helped me fix it so I can read the info so I can clone it. So yeah, it's you gotta break some eggs to make an omelet, man.
Yeah, it's almost a rite of passage, especially with those flash chips. I think everybody rips a leg or pad first couple times you do it.
Definitely. I blew a few of them out. That's why I always tell people who want to start getting into it, just get a couple cores, man, and just have at it.
Oh, absolutely. Best to practice on junk that you can tear up than a one-off module that belongs to someone else.
Yeah, always open up the original first, like the casing and stuff, so that if I screw something up with it or bust something trying to get it open, at least I know for the one that's going in the car, okay, let's smooth this out a little bit.
Yeah, make it look pretty.
Cool, guys. You got anything else before we wrap her up?
I don't know. You got any questions for us, Joey?
Probably, but can't think off the top of my head.
Well, we appreciate your spending this fine Sunday afternoon with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, man.
Yeah, thank you. All right, that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you, Joey, for spending some time with us. That was great. Hopefully you enjoyed that as well. I'd like to thank all the listeners of the show, all the feedback that we've gotten since getting back at it with Tomi. It's been great. If anybody has any ideas, suggestions, things you'd like to see on the show, topics you'd like us to cover, or people that you would like to talk to, I'm going to set up a poll within the Facebook group this week. You can go in, add things, give us suggestions. We'd like to hear what you'd like to hear about. So that'll be up. If you're wondering how to get to the Facebook group, check out the show notes of this episode. There is a link. You got to join the group, got to answer a couple questions so we know you're a real person, and that's it. And then you can submit your requests, put your input in, and we'll see what we can do. So Other than that, let's all get out there, start fixing the world one car at a time.